Love it or hate it, there's something undeniably comforting about the sizzle and the aroma of a skillet full of tender liver and caramelized onions. Let's make it. Did anyone on here grow up on a farm like I did? If so, please share where you grew up and what crops or animals you took care of. As I've mentioned before, we used to slaughter hogs every Thanksgiving, and my parents and grandparents made sure that nothing went to waste. One of the things that we cooked was the liver. I watched a program where a chef named Vivian was featured. She grew up on a farm in North Carolina where her family grew tobacco and raised pigs. Later on, she went to Atlanta to study culinary arts and became a chef. Eventually, Vivian returned to her hometown and opened up her own restaurant. Now, during the program I was watching that was featuring Vivian, she participated in a pig slaughter, and at the end of the day, she was sitting on the tailgate of a truck and she just looked shell-shocked. And she stated that that animal had made the ultimate sacrifice and that nothing should be wasted, not even the hair. We should probably eat it, she said. And I fully agree with her. My parents always believed in utilizing everything that was useful. And that's how I got introduced to this dish. So let's get started. And you make it how you like it. I like mine fairly plain, just a little seasoning. But I got a pan to cook my onions and mushrooms in and make my gravy. I've got mushrooms, I got seasoning, beef broth. I've got seasoned flour. I just got some seasoned flour mixed with some water. I think I'm going to use this for my husband's meat tonight. I got him some pork steaks, and I'm going to cook him that because he will not eat liver. And here it is. Beautiful, beautiful beef liver. My store did not have pork liver, so we're using beef today. I'm going to pour just a tiny bit of buttermilk on this beef liver. That's just to get my batter to stick. I want a little bit of crunch on it. Okay, now all I'm going to do is cut up some onions. I like plenty of onions in this dish. And since I'm making Frankie a different cut of meat, I'm going to cook my onions separately so that they don't have any liver flavoring on them. I may have enough to put some in my liver. We'll see. Anyway, I'm going to take my oil. I got a little bit of oil and butter in this skillet and get my onions going. As you can see, I've got onions and mushrooms. We'll saute them down, get them soft. First, I roll the liver in buttermilk, and then I coat it in the seasoned flour. Now, the only seasoning I'm using today is just regular salt and pepper and Badia Complete, which is vegetables, herbs, garlic, and onion, I think. Now, while I'm doing this, I got a little bit of vegetable oil in a skillet on the stove. It's getting hot. And also, you'll see me change this seasoned flour out in just a minute so that I can bread Frankie's pork steaks. We don't want his pork steaks touching the liver. Okay, in goes the liver. My grease was hot. Now this meat is sliced very thin, so it only has to cook a few minutes per side. About the time you get your flour or your crust lightly browned or crunchy, it's ready to come out. What was funny is that I was reading earlier about liver, and it says in times past the organ meats were more highly prized than the muscle meats we now favor. And in many indigenous communities, the liver was eaten by those who needed the nutrition the most, like pregnant women and children. Otherwise, it was eaten by the chief of the tribe before the commoners got any. How about that? My onions and mushrooms are cooking away. And while they are, I'm going to start a jar of my green beans that I put up, was it 2 summers ago? But I've got a recipe for these green beans. I'll link it in the description below. They are delicious. I know what I'm doing to these green beans looks a little bizarre, but go watch the video. Trust me. Okay, now that I've got my liver fried, I changed and put some clean oil in my skillet, and I'm gonna fry him a couple of pieces of pork steak. And I'll probably go ahead and make my gravy for my liver. Now I made this pan of gravy with a little bit of vegetable oil, flour, salt, pepper, and beef stock. I didn't give any measurements. You get to where you make gravy enough, you just eyeball it. But there's a gazillion recipes for gravy out there on the internet. Now I usually use a whisk when I'm making gravy, but I just so happened to grab this pan because it was big enough to hold the liver and onions and gravy. And I don't want to put a whisk in it, so I'm going to try and make this work with just a wooden spoon. I think we can do it. As I make this dish today, it makes me think of my mother-in-law. Now she is the only one that would eat this dish with me. So what would happen is if she happened to make liver and onions at her house, which she lived alone, she would call me and she would share with me. And then if I happened to make it, I would call her and share with her, because no one in my household eats it except me. Now his pork steaks are about ready, and my gravy is ready for the liver to be put in. Okay, I'm gonna put my liver in the gravy and let it just sit here and simmer while I finish up our meal. Now normally I would put my mushrooms and onions in the skillet with the gravy and the liver. But since I'm gonna put part of the liver and onions on his dish, and I didn't want them mixed, I just cooked them separately. It'll be delish. Okay, let me check in on these green beans. The goal now is to get all the liquid cooked out of them and let them start to caramelize. I'm gonna tell you, go look at that video. Now that everything else is about ready, I'm gonna make Frankie a little bit of white gravy. We call it milk gravy. I think he would prefer that over the brown one, but it just consists of butter, flour, salt, pepper, and milk. Okay, it's time to make a plate. I'm gonna put some creamed potatoes. And for me, I want brown gravy. I'm going to have a slice of liver, if I can get it with that. Probably not. It smells delicious. Ooh, don't that look good? And some granny greens. And then I like onions and mushrooms on my liver. Now I told you I made a plate for Frankie because he does not eat liver, or I made another meat for Frankie. Let me go ahead and make his plate while I'm at it. Give him some creamed potatoes. Now he will want white gravy or milk gravy or cream gravy. I made this with milk. It's about to get cool on me. And he will get a piece of fried pork steak. And some greens. Wow, doesn't that look delicious? Okay, let's try this. I love it with all these onions and mushrooms on it. Again, nobody in my house eats this but me. Just cut us a piece. Can you see the inside of it? It's kind of got a velvety texture. Let's give it a try. Delicious. Definitely got the liver vibes going on. The texture is like velvet. Oh my goodness. And this is yellow sweet onions that I've cooked and put on top of it. And they give the whole dish a sweet vibe. Here's my favorite. Swipe it through your potatoes. That is great. Although this dish may not suit everyone's taste, I enjoy it about once every 10 years. I take a bite and my taste buds explode with flavor. The tender liver melts in your mouth while the onion's at a sweet and a savory balance. It's a nostalgic dish that brings back memories of childhood and simpler times. And with every bite, I'm reminded of the importance of frugality and how even the simplest of meals can bring immense pleasure and satisfaction. Okay, so who loves it and who hates it? And I'll talk to y'all later.